What's up, everyone? Today, myself, Lisa, and Wrangler started our 2-week road trip to the Great Smoky Mountain Jeep Invasion. We are not going directly to the Great Smoky Mountain Jeep Invasion. That would actually only take us 11 hours. We are actually going down to Jupiter, Florida first to hang out with some friends, and then we're coming back up and hitting the Great Smoky Mountain Jeep Invasion. We figured while we're making this trip that we might as well hit some of the Jeep Badge of Honor trails, and today we're starting with the first trail, which is the Peter Mills Run. So we've got our pass for our daily pass to get through the trail, and we're at the beginning of the trail. So let's go ahead and check this trail out, and we'll show you guys what it's all about.
As recommended by the majority of the trail apps, we started this trail from the south end and made our way north. I do want to mention that this trail took us about 2 to 3 hours to complete, so because of this, I'm actually going to fast forward through a few sections in this video. So what this means is that sometimes the speed it looks like I'm going might not be a true representation of the speed I was actually going. I'm going to be fast forwarding through a few sections because I want to show you the entire trail so that you have a good understanding of what the Peters Mill Run has to offer, but I don't want to have to make you sit through a 2-hour video. This trail started with some dirt roads and some inclines. These inclines could easily be run in 2-wheel drive, and in fact, the entire trail could possibly be run in 2-wheel drive. But for myself, I actually ran it in 4-wheel drive because I was simply being a little over cautious, as we were by ourselves. It was the first day of our 2-week road trip, and I didn't want to break anything or get ourselves in any sticky situations. One thing that was unique about the inclines and the fact that it was on dirt roads is there was actually some washed out areas and some ruts throughout the trail. What this did is it actually led to some simple dynamic flexing, which made it a little more engaging and a little bit more challenging. Even though the ruts in the video look pretty deep, they are simply avoidable. So if you do have a stock Jeep with no lift and stock tires, you can easily bypass these ruts by simply driving to the left or the right. Because the beginning of this trail was the most dynamic part, we actually filmed a bunch of scenes from outside the Jeep. And I do have to thank Lisa for this because this was the first time we've ever filmed an off-road trail, and it meant that she was actually going to have to be the one getting out of the Jeep to capture the scenes from outside the Jeep. And I have to say, guys, in my opinion, she did a great job at capturing some of the unique situations. course, guys, because she was the one getting in and out of the Jeep, I did have to be a gentleman from time to time and lower the Jeep down to make it easier for her to climb in. As we continued up through this trail, we approached an obstacle that I would consider to be the gatekeeper. It might not be the official gatekeeper, but for myself, it was probably the most difficult obstacle on this trail. And the obstacle was a rock face incline. But before we went up the obstacle, we had to make a small break and enjoy the scenery. This obstacle was not actually that challenging, but for myself, it was the first time I've ever done a rock face incline, so I was a little bit nervous. As you can see, I really took my time and crawled up this obstacle. And again, guys, that was mainly because I was simply being over precautious, as this was the first day of our 2-week road trip, and I knew the Jeep had to get through the entire 2 weeks. And as you can see, guys, this obstacle was not a challenge for the Jeep. It crawled up just fine. This obstacle was more of a challenge for my own personal confidence. Now that I've completed it, I can definitely say I gained a little bit more confidence, which will help me on future trails. After that obstacle, we had a few more inclines before the trail would start to transition to phase 2. But guys, before the trail fully transitioned, I noticed a small embankment coming up on the driver's side and decided this would be the perfect location to flex the Jeep out for some photos. And as you can see, guys, the Acura Dynamic Lift Kit has no issues flexing out on the trail. After that photo shoot, we continued on the trail, and this is where the trail starts to transition into phase 2. Phase 2 is where the trail starts to turn from the dirt roads to more of a rocker, boulder-like mountain road, which is definitely a lot rougher and reduces the speed that you can go at. Throughout this phase, you're simply driving along this boulder-like road with a rock face on one side and a drop-off on the other. This trail continues like this for quite some time, about 40 to 50 minutes if I remember correctly. And to be honest guys, because of how rough this road is, it definitely starts to get a little annoying, and you definitely start to look forward to when the trail is going to transition to phase 3. As we approached the halfway to this trail, the trail did slowly start to transition to a phase 3, which would be a smoother ride. But before we got into that, we actually started to go down this embankment where we saw a pond on the left, and we decided we needed to stop to check it out. During the stop, we had a few snacks, let the dog pee, and enjoyed the scenery. After that stop, we continued on into phase 3 of the trail. Phase 3 of the trail is where the trail transitions from the boulder-like mountain road and turns into more of a dirt road that runs through the forest with a few puddles here and there. Luckily for us, even though it had rained the week before, the trail was pretty dry, which meant that the puddles that we would run into were very minor, and they were not going to be major mud holes that we would have to face. This part of the trail was simply driving through the forest. It wasn't that much to look at, mostly just trees and bushes. But I do have to say, phase 3 of the trail was more pleasant than phase 2. We could actually cruise at a decent speed and enjoy the entire ride. So as we approach the end of this trail, I do want to mention that just a few minutes after this trail ends, there's actually a really cool lookout that I highly recommend that you check out. To be honest, guys, I can't remember what the lookout is called, nor what the elevation is, but I have to say the scenery was amazing. And what I'll do, guys, is I'll actually show a small clip of the view at the end of this video. So make sure to watch the end to see what that scenery looks like and to see how amazing it actually was.
So guys, we just finished the Peter Mills Run Trail, and overall, pretty fun trail, but it was mostly just trails and not really any obstacles. So the majority of the content I filmed is mostly from our trail camera or through the handheld while we were driving along. There wasn't any real need to stop and film any real challenges. It was a fairly simple trail. This trail will definitely be good for anybody who has a stock vehicle. It's definitely built for that. It is a green trail, I would say. So the rating it had was a 3. I would definitely put it at that. There were some things at the beginning which were a little bit challenging. You could consider them, I guess, your gatekeeper, depending on which direction you went. But otherwise, everything else was pretty simple. At the beginning, you had a lot more rocks, and it was definitely a bumpy ride. I kind of regret not airing down because it would have made it a little bit smoother. So I kind of learned my lesson on that one. But you don't need to. The only thing it does is just makes it a little bit smoother ride. After you get through those rocks, it does get into a little bit smoother run where you're going through the forest and you're simply just running into puddles. So it did rain on the weekend or last week. So definitely had some good amount of puddles and not super deep, about half of my tire, but it was enough to go through. So overall, very dynamic trail, lots of cool things. I hope that you guys enjoyed this video and now have an understanding of what Peter's Mill Run has to offer. If you have a stock Jeep, highly recommend you come out, check this trail out, and get your badge of honor. At this point, guys, if you have any questions about this trail, feel free to post them below. Please make sure to like, subscribe, and share. And guys, keep evolving, and we'll see you guys on the next video.